All right, so today we start on West Coast swing. So in this first video, what I would do, instead of teaching a particular pattern, what I want to do is kind of introduce you to West Coast swing, what it is, what it's not, and everything else. So one thing that is different between West Coast swing and a lot of other dances is there really isn't one singular basic step. So like in two-step or in waltz, you've got your basic step number one, your basic step. West Coast swing doesn't have one particular basic step. There's a basic idea. So right now I'm just going to teach you the basic idea. All right, so West Coast swing is a slotted dance. You're going to hear this phrase a lot, and it's kind of like she's traveling forward and back along this railroad track. So she goes from there to there, and she's traveling back and forth. And I kind of have my own slot too. So while she's going forward and back along this slot, I'm mostly moving side to side. So without teaching the basic steps, if we were facing each other from here, the basic idea is that I would get out of her way, I would allow her to go the other side, and then I'm back over here. So regardless of what the pattern is, the idea is she goes this way as I kind of get out of her way back and forth. So the variations in the different patterns come from not does she go to the other side of the slot, but how. So like obviously she can walk to the other side of the slot. She can turn to the other side of the slot. She can do a lot of different things. While I'm kind of moving here, she's essentially just moving from one side to the next over and over and over. All right, and so that's the basic premise of West Coast swing. To break this down a little bit further, I'm going to paint a picture in your mind. All right, so I want you to picture some circles that have been placed on the floor. We're going to have pink circles, and then we're going to have blue circles. Pink circles are for Clarissa here. Blue circles are for me, okay? So right now she's standing in one pink circle. And over here is another pink circle. So she has two pink circles. She's going to go from that circle to that circle, but there's a pink line that connects that circle to that circle. I have three circles. In between her two pink circles, there's a blue circle because I can stand in between her two spaces. I can be over here because there's another blue circle this way, or I can be over here on this side. So my job is to send her from that pink circle to that one as I move over to the side to that pink circle, and then I kind of get back in the middle. And regardless of what we're doing, I'm just going mostly, not all the time, but mostly from these three places. Okay, so that's your motion. So unlike two-step or polka or waltz or foxtrot or tango, which kind of travel around the room, they're called progressive dance. This is generally done in one area of the floor, and it kind of goes back and forth here, and you have these motions. All right, so I said earlier that there is no basic step, and there's not. I'm going to show you one of the basic steps in just a minute, but for now, I want to kind of go over the theory, all right? West Coast swing has both 6-count patterns and it has 8-count patterns, okay? Now, instead of teaching you a 6-count pattern or an 8-count pattern, what I'm going to do is break all of those patterns into sections or segments of 2 beats of music. And so we're going to talk a lot about intentions. And an intention is something you intend to do or accomplish, okay? The good news is that in a 6-count pattern, which is 3 sections of 2 beats of music, you basically have the same intention or the thing to do in the first section, and you have the same intention at the end or the thing to do at the end. So you've got 2 pieces, and it's those middle 2 counts that will kind of change an intention or theory in between. So now I'm going to show you guys what's called a left side pass. Okay, it's called a left side pass because she's passing me and she's going on the left side. She's on my left shoulder and I'm going to be on her left shoulder. So we're going to start a left side pass in this position. All right, now the rhythm of West Coast swing is going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6, or a lot of times we'll count that walk, walk, triple step, okay? So for section 1, which is the first 2 beats of essentially every pattern of West Coast swing, we're going to do a walk, walk. She's just going to walk forward. When she walks forward on count 1, I'm walking with her. That's count 1. I'm using my body without constricting my arm. I'm using my body to initiate her movement on count 1. On count 2, she's still going to be walking forward. She's not going to turn, but as she steps on count 2, I've got to move over to this blue circle on the side. That's 1 and 2. So the intention of section 1, that first 2 beats, is bring her towards me. So for counts 1 and 2, we have 1, 2. I've essentially gotten out of her way. All right, now she is still moving down the slot for the second section, and she's going to do a traveling triple step. So she's going to go step, step, and then she's going to turn as I step back into the middle section. I'm going to break this down, lead and follow, in just a second. So that middle section, we're going to call the intention on the middle section the variation. That's where the new stuff happens. But at the end of section 2, we're both going to triple step in place and not have a lot of movement. We're going to call that an anchor step. So I'm going to show you that again. So Clarissa's step first is going to be walk, walk with no turning for 1, 2. Then she's going to go a step. She's going to begin the rotation and finish the rotations. That's a triple step. And then she's going to go 5 and 6. Okay? Now notice that when we finish counts 5 and 6, we're going to call that an anchor. My right foot, her left foot is slightly behind. We're not going to end up in a side to side, and it's not going to end up in front or beside and all that stuff for now. It's going to be my right foot is slightly behind my left, her left foot is slightly behind her right. We'll get into why that is in a minute. I'm just going to keep you in mystery for now. But so we've got walk, walk, triple step, triple step. Okay, so notice it's my left hand, her right hand. We'll do this from this angle. Walk, walk, triple step, and triple step. Okay, so we've paid attention to her footwork. I'll give it to you one more time. It's going to be walk, walk, and then she has a run, 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 and a triple step. Now I want to pay attention to the leader's footwork. I'm going to step back for count 1. On count 2, I'm beginning to move to that side. So I'm going to turn about a quarter of a turn for 2. Now on 3 and, as she's running past me, I'm going to step in place for 3 and on count 4, I start to move forward and begin to turn towards her. I'm stepping back into the center circle. And then I'm going to square it with her for 5 and 6. I'll give it to you one more time. We have 1, there's a quarter of a turn. And then we're going to step together, together, step into the middle of the slot, 5 and 6. So all together, it's going to be 1, 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6. 1, 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6. Okay. So this is called a left side pass. Now keep in mind, leaders, so she needs to be going past my left shoulder. And so it doesn't matter which side she's facing, it's according to my left shoulder. So I wouldn't always step this way or always step that way. If I'm facing this way, I'm going to be stepping out to my right, which puts her on my left side. So I'm going to be moving this direction. But if I'm on this side, I'm actually going to be moving this way. Okay, this last section becomes really important, and West Coast swing dancers talk about this a lot. It's called an anchor, okay? An anchor, as an analogy, think of it like, you know, a boat is going down the river, right? And it's moving, and it's got this motion that's going, and this is basically what she's doing down the slot, and somebody throws the anchor over, right? So if somebody throws the anchor over, it basically kind of weighs the boat down and stops it, and the boat's still trying to move this way, but the anchor's pulling it back, and it kind of stops it. It's making it anchored, stop, steady, and there's actually this pulling because the momentum of the boat's still going, but the anchor's pulling it back. That's essentially what we want. When we get to the end of this pattern, if my right foot is behind my left, her left is behind her right, at the end of every pattern, we want to have some amount of leverage, where we're sitting back to where we have this elasticity. Think of a rubber band at the end of that. Because if I were here, and as she leans away from me, if we're leaning away from each other and she gives me a lot of weight, if we have this weight away from each other, if I move, she's going to respond to that. If she doesn't have that weight and she just hangs her hand down here, nothing happens until she does have some weight, right? We want every pattern to end up with some amount of elasticity where we're just, not dramatically, but just a little bit, just kind of having some weight moving away from each other. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6, and we've got this stretch that happens before the next thing. Now, I'm going to caution you, and this is something we see a lot. The ladies will start feeling that leverage where he's kind of settling back and into that anchor, and she interprets that as come forward because it feels like it's being pulled a little bit. You want to wait till after the end of the pattern, stretch, and then move forward on 1, because remember, the intention of section 1 is to come towards him, so you wouldn't want to come towards until that point. All right, so to kind of show you how this would work, so if we started a left side pass or any pattern, we would go 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now you can think of this as a 5 and 6 and a 1, 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6 and a 1, 2. She's going to be much more responsive that way. She's going to understand the communication. So before we wrap up, I want to break down the 3 sections really, really well, because going forward and all the patterns we'll do, you have to understand this, or you're just kind of collecting patterns. If you understand this concept and know that these concepts kind of play into everything else you do, it's going to make everything beyond this point so much easier. All right, so section 1, the idea, the intention, the thing I'm asking her to do is to come towards me. So come here, you, right? And then from that point, she has the variation. In this case, it's a triple step. Now we're going to do the step and anchor. Now, from this point, I'm just going to show you this one. Eventually, we'll teach you a lot of this stuff, but I'm just going to show you how this concept works. The middle section is where the stuff happens. So I'm going to bring her towards me, come towards me. There's a variation and anchor. Right, here's a left side pass again. Come towards me, the variation and the anchor. So underarm pass, come towards me, variation, anchor. So all of these patterns, the 6-count pattern basically has that structure. So, so this is the left side pass, and if you need to, or even if you don't feel like you don't need to, watch this this portion of the video before you move on multiple times. So make sure that you understand the circles, right? You understand the motion, and make sure that you understand the 3 sections, because pretty much everything is going to be built off that, and that's going to be your left side pass.